So the Bows of Fortnite are very interesting, as they're one of the only weapon classes to not be featured in most seasons, right next to explosives. So I've decided to give the love they deserve in today's video, the Bows of Fortnite. I'm also going to analyze at the end if the bows are good weapon classes or are pretty bad, but I'm ready to show you guys how good the bows are with our first entry. Wait, hold on, what the hell are you doing here? Last time I saw you was in my nightmares and weird Fortnite montages. Wait, hold on. Ranking every bow, crossbow. You know what, sure, this thing is a hybrid sniper AR, which sounds cool, but if you're not an idiot and look at the footage, there's a huge problem. It does 45 damage and it's scoped. It shoots super slow and it's projectile in old Fortnite. Also, all the designs suck. I mean, they're so boring. This might be the worst weapon in terms of design and gameplay of all time. Right next to the primal weapons. Alright, we got out of crossbow territory. Let's get to the bows now. What the hell, Epic? You reskinned it and made it better against fiends? Epic, by the way, that's doing nothing to help this weapon. Also, the scope is removed, so the only good thing was accuracy, and now it's removed. A projectile, small damage, AR in Chapter 1. Let's move on to our first actual bow. The boom bow. Oh my goodness, is this thing underrated. It uses shotgun shells, which makes no sense, but it's so good because arrows are more rare than shotgun shells, and you never run out of them. The damage is crazy. 300 to vehicles, and a 2x critical hit damage, allowing for one-shots, and even if you miss, if the arrow hits a 1-tile radius, it still does 100 damage. Everything about this weapon is crazy good. It is the second best bow in the game. There's two problems. The boom bow hasn't come back ever since Season 8, and the bow is a projectile, which I think doesn't matter much, but still needs to be taken into account. The boom bow is a perfect weapon, and other bows should model after it. Next we have TNTina's kaboom bow, which is the worst version of the boom bow. It does 75 splash damage and 100 impact damage. It also only has 5 shots and recharges over time. The structure damage is much worse than the original too, only doing 100 damage. Also, you have to take into account you had to fight a boss and not get third-partied and leave from the outskirts of the island. Overall, this boom bow is much worse than the original version. Next we have all the mechanical and primal bows. I'm not separating them all this video. It would take way too long if I did that. So we have the makeshift bow, primal flame bow, primal stink bow, mechanical shockwave bow, mechanical explosive bow, and let's just throw in the grappler bow. So the makeshift, primal, and makeshift bows all get into this section of absolutely useless unless you're making another bow. But the shockwave and grappler bows are incredibly good for movement and some damage. These both do 83 damage but have their own abilities of allowing you to shockwave yourself or pull yourself to enemies or buildings. The only complaint I have for any of them is the grappler bow pulling the shot back if it's too far away. Next we have the stink bow and explosive bow. These bows are pretty useless. The explosive bow is useless unless you have them in a box then shoot it above their head, and even then it does 40 extra damage. The bombs just take way too long to detonate, and by then the person ran away and shot you. The stink bow would be good for people camping in boxes, but the stink is half the size of something like the stink bomb, and it's completely useless. But still, these still do 83 damage each. Now we have a flame bow, and I've been thinking for a while, and I still have no thoughts about it. I mean, cool fire and stuff, but is it useful? Not really. I mean, it's not as bad as the stink or explosive bow, but you're only going to use this when someone's in a wood box or as a sniper, and you can save a sniper part for any bow. Alright, now we had that big part out of the way. What do we have now? Why the hell is there boss music? Wait a minute, didn't I already talk about this one? Why is there two? Dual mini fiend hunter crossbows? When did this exist? Chapter 2, Season 8. Let me see some gameplay. 34 damage and a slow fire rate. My god, was that spread. This is the rebirth of Satan right here. Forget about the normal crossbow or War Machine's hover jets. Dual mini crossbow fiend hunters are the worst item in the game. If I see this weapon in the game ever again, I'm quitting. Alright, what's next? What cool bow do we have? Another crossbow? Instant F tier. What's the name of this? Modular boom bolt? Hold on, so the boom bolt can be modded and does 75 splash damage and 102 direct damage. Also has a counter for cars, and then, hold on. Do we have an S tier crossbow? Well, it is. Alright. The last actual bow, the recon bow, which I never heard of before this video. So it's like a recon scanner, but it's a bow. I can't think of anything to say. I guess a recon scanner is good, but this is an exotic. And exotics are really hard to get, and this exotic bow is one of the worst out of the bows. That's the end of this video. The bows are a weird weapon class, but some of them are really good and others should never touch the game again. That's it. Like and subscribe.